This is MTG Burgeoning, and everything you need to know about this channel, from subscriber reward series and giveaways to regularly scheduled programming and content, can be read in the description below. It's EDH Commander Thursday, and in today's video we are going to continue with our series of partner quick takes. Hello and welcome back, fans of MTG Burgeoning. It's Commander Thursday, and that means that we are going to do something Commander related in our video today. And what better way to continue with our Partner Quick Take series than to do it on Commander Thursday. If you've missed any of the previous installments of this series, you can click on any of the links in the description below and bring you right up to speed. We have a total of 16 partners left. We are 5 episodes deep into the series. This is episode number 6. And what we do is we shuffle up all available legendary creatures with the partner mechanic, as there are only 56. We've already done 5 of these videos, so there's only 2 more possible with this current set of cards. We shuffle up the remaining 16 partners that we have yet to create decks for. We put down 4 face-down 2-card piles, 2 partners for each one, and then we reveal each partner pairing, and on the spot, we talk about initially how we would build a commander deck featuring those 2 legendary partners. No databases, no EDH rec, no gatherer, 100% pure MTG Burgeoning. So let's get down to business and let's reveal pile number 1. First partner, Slurk, all ingesting. All right, we have an ooze here. 5 and a green, 0/0 power. It enters the battlefield with 5 +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever Slurk or another creature you control dies, if it had a +1/+1 counter on it, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control that has a +1/+1 counter on it. Boy, we're getting a lot of +1/+1 counter redundancy here. All right, so it looks like at this moment there's definitely going to be some kind of +1/+1 counter synergy within this deck. Let's reveal partner number 2, and that is going to be a mono green build. All right, so what do we have here? We have Jalandra, Caller of Wirewood, a 1/2 legendary elf for 2 and a green. Tap to add a green mana, and when we spend this mana to cast a spell with converted mana cost 6 or greater, we draw a card. Oh, not overpowering. We got a couple of uncommon legendary partners here. All right, so my initial stance is most underwhelming, but we don't have the ability to omit or pass. So let's brainstorm a way in which to make this work. So we have a draw ability on an elf druid, but only when we cast a spell that's 6 or greater, and it's only a 1/2, and that's all it can do. Slurk is +1/+1 centric, so the best thing I can think of at this moment is to put together a Hydra deck. We have all kinds of +1/+1 shenanigans with Slurk. We want to cast Hydras that are going to hopefully have a CMC of at least 6, which will enable us to draw a card whenever we cast it. Now, there are a number of very good Hydras that are in mono green. We should not have a problem with building enough of a creature base. Throw in some other cards that might help make the Hydras bigger, like Beastmaster Ascension. Perhaps we could also include a copy of Akroma's Memorial to get them into play, having haste, first strike, trample, flying, protection from black, protection from red. That would really make our Hydras a lot more formidable. We can also throw in any kind of creatures that have +1/+1 counters matter. Synergies like Forgotten Ancient could work. We could put in a copy of what is that one enchantment? It's 1 green. It's from the Tarkir series. Whenever you put a +1/+1 counter on something, put 1 more of that on +1. I can't remember what that's called. It's 1 green, man. Somebody hook me up in the comment section. Yeah, I think we just do a +1/+1 counter centric deck. That's pretty straightforward, I think. All right, Hydras it is. All right, Slurk and Jalandra, a mono green build, +1/+1 counters. Yeah, that'll work. All right. Pile number 2, Commander 1 is Falthus, Shadow Cat Familiar. We got a 2/2 Nightmare Cat. Commanders we control have Menace and Death Touch. All right, so on a 2/2 for 2 and a black, Menace and Death Touch. The Menace is nice because that means that it has some pretty good evasion, meaning that if this is going to get blocked by 2 creatures minimally with 2 points with a power of 2, both of those creatures are going to get sent to the graveyard. All right, so my initial thought for Falthus is we can definitely make this some kind of Voltron build because of the built-in evasion of Menace, as well as the built-in protection of Death Touch. Let's see what commander option number 2 is, or partner. We have Anara, Wolvid Familiar. Okay, so we have a wolf and a cat. So we're going Golgari here. So we got a 3 green wolf beast 4/4. As long as it's our turn, commanders we control have indestructible. Oh, baby. All right. All right, so this is really building a Voltron theme I'm seeing. Black, green, we can ramp like crazy in those colors. Those are the 2 best colors for ramping. Commanders on our turn, if they're both in play, will have Menace, Death Touch, and Indestructible. We crank up the power boosts, the toughness boosts. We equip them with some of the best equipments that Magic has. Throw in some amazing auras like Rancor. That would definitely be a fantastic aura to include. It's just one that hopefully we get to play and cast over and over and over again. And we just keep sending this cat and wolf into combat. The CMCs are very manageable at 2 black and 3 green, particularly with Anara. CMC of 4 on a 4/4 body is pretty sweet, and plus it gives our commanders indestructible during our turn. So I think it would also be a good idea to include some board wipes in black that, as long as our commanders are indestructible, and hopefully they can't be targeted. So for spot removal, when we cast these board wipes, we want to make sure that we have things like Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots. Maybe some Whisper Silk Cloak action, so that our guys are protected, so they don't pick off Anara or Falthus during our turn. We can cast our spells like Damnation. We can cast our spells like Necromantic Selection. Wipe out their boards, send in our commanders. Yeah, we're going Voltron here. Golgari Voltron with these kitties, these beasts and cat. All right, Golgari Voltron, folks. That sounds promising. I'm more excited about that potential than I am the mono green +1/+1 counter build. All right, here we go. We're halfway through. We're on to pile number 3. And the first commander of pile 3 is Ishai, Ojutai Dragon Speaker. We have an Azorius partner here. 2 white and a blue for a 1/1 flyer. Oh, that's pretty terrible. If we're stopping right there, that is horrifically awful. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Ishai, Ojutai Dragon Speaker. Now, why couldn't we put Ishai with Slurk, make a nice Bant +1/+1 counters matter deck? That would be interesting. All right, so we've got an Azorius commander that is dependent on our opponent's casting spells to only put +1/+1 counters on a 1/1 body with evasion with a CMC of 4. All right, so Ishai is not really ringing home with a great deal of value here. Let's hope commander number 2 can change it up a bit. And that is going to be Tago. 2 in a red. We've got a legendary Goblin Artificer. 2/2 body, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under our control, create a colorless equipment artifact token named Rock. With equipped creature has tap 1, tap, sacrifice Rock. This creature deals 2 damage to any target, and to equip it, it costs 1. Okay, so we have quite a variety here in this Jeskai build. Boy, oh boy, this one is tough. All right, so since we have a landfall ability, I think we're going to want to try to make a deck that is going to take advantage of all of the equipments that we're able to make, all of these rocks, and a way in which to make sure that we can tap to sacrifice them. So I think what we want to do is to try to focus on a Jeskai Spirit build, where we can create some little token dudes that whenever we can equip these rocks to the tokens, and then have some mana available that we can tap to sacrifice the rock equipment in order to shock any target. Some additional spells or some additional cards that might help with this, one that comes to mind is an enchantment called Kren Negotiations. It's an enchantment, and our creatures have tap, deal 1 damage. I think it's to any target. It may just be to target player, but I think Kren Negotiations is tap to deal 1 damage to any target. Then that way we're really utilizing our ability to... because we could tap... Script creature has tap 1, tap. So even if we don't have the rocks in play, we can still tap the Kren Negotiations to deal direct damage. So that would be a card to bring into play. That would definitely help. We can also think of some cards like Fiery Emancipation. I mean, we're only in 3 colors, so a spell with triple red shouldn't be too overwhelming for us to cast. That way, if we have a Fiery Emancipation in play, now we're sacrificing our rock artifacts to deal 6 damage to any target. That could be quite menacing. We can go one step further and maybe think about including Furnace of Wrath, where all damage dealt is doubled. But we gotta be careful because that also can affect us. Same thing with Dictate of, is it Perforos? Dictate of Perforos, the red flash enchantment. When it comes down into play, whenever damage is dealt, it's dealt double. So again, that hurts us as much as Furnace of Wrath would, but Fiery Emancipation would probably be the go-to. How to fit Ishai into this? Well, I don't know. I think at best we just get Ishai into play, just kind of maybe let it sit out there, absorbing some +1/+1 counters. I mean, the threat is potential. I mean, there is the potential for a big flying threat. If we're sitting down to a table of 4 commander players and we have 3 opponents, and we say each opponent on average casts 2 to 3 spells per turn, each round of turns we can expect between 6 and 9 counters placed onto Ishai if it survives, making its power between 7 and 10 each round, and then it gets to our turn. There is the potential for maybe not one-shotting, but there is the potential for lethal commander damage directed by Ishai, Ojutai Dragonspeaker. So maybe on that end, we include some artifacts, some equipment that could just give them protection so they're not spot removed. Again, we think of Lightning Greaves, we think of Swiftfoot Boots, we think of Champion's Helm, we think of Whisper Silk Cloak would probably make the most sense, particularly because it would also give Ishai unblockability, which would be really good if it has a number of +1/+1 counters on it. So I think as a mini sub-theme, we can include a few of those artifacts to give Ishai the opportunity to swing for lethal commander damage cumulatively over a game. And we're in the right colors for fetching. I mean, we can include a Enlightened Tutor to find the equipment that we need. We can include a Mystical Tutor to find any instant or sorcery spells we need. And if need be, we could go the route of playing a gamble if we have to get our Fiery Emancipation. So we're in the colors of some pretty decent tutors for what we want to do in this deck, and I think that's the route that I would definitely take. We want to put a bunch of little dudes in play, take advantage of Tago, and then include a sub-theme of protection and additional evasion for Ishai for the purposes of draining down opponents with the rock artifact, with the rock equipment, and then the potential of eliminating opponents with lethal commander damage from Ishai. All right, Jeskai. I think that might be the first time that we've put together a Jeskai deck in this series. That one might have some potential. I do favor the Jeskai build to the mono green, and it might be more interesting than the Golgari build, just because of the varying differences of what we can do between Tago and Ishai. All right, pile number 4, the last pile of this video. Commander number 1 is... we have Livio, Oathsworn Sentinel. We have a commander option here, 1 and a white on a 2/2 body, Human Knight. For 1 and a white, we choose another target creature. Its controller may exile it with an Aegis counter on it. Tap 2 and a white, return all exile cards with Aegis counters on them to the battlefield under their owner's control. All right, so there's a lot of possibilities for politicking with this card. There's a lot of possibilities of just playing a straight Wrath theme in white. We get some creatures in play. We put the Livio Earthsworn Sentinel into play. We exile some of our creatures with the Aegis counters. The game goes on. We cast Wrath effects. They come back into play they come back into play when we get Livio back into play. Yeah, there's some potential there. Commander option number 2 is, we're going to go Selesnya here. Kodama of the East Tree. 4 and 2 green, 6/6 reach. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, if it wasn't put onto the battlefield with this ability, you may put a permanent card with equal or lesser converted mana cost from your hand onto the battlefield. All right, so in my mind, I'm already formulating a million different ways to create some kind of mass blink effects where we're able to get creatures into play, exile them with Livio's ability, and then when they come back into play from Livio's other ability, Kodama triggers, and then we're able to put additional permanents, which would most likely be creatures in this instance, because Livio can only exile creatures. So we're going blink effects here. We're going all kinds of creatures. This is going to be a super creature heavy build. And it's luckily for us that Livio is only 1 and a white. So we can actually take a couple of turns off before we get Livio into play. Get it into play right away. Enable its 1 and white, his ability of 1 and a white to exile and a creature with an Aegis counter on it. Just keep playing that game. Yeah, I really like how that would work. Then we get Kodama into play, and then Livio comes back in. It's able to return the creature cards by enabling its other ability, triggering Kodama multiple times, getting more creatures into play. Yeah, we're definitely going to do that. I want to make a creature-heavy Selesnya build with this combination. This right here, this Selesnya build, I think offers the greatest synergy of any of the two commander combinations we've seen in this video. Kodama and Livio. Yeah, we're going to go with the Selesnya build. Absolutely. All right. That looks like a great play. Just, actually, as a thought, what is it? Put on the battlefield. Converted mana cost. Okay. All right. So what we're also going to keep in mind is a way in which to kind of dance around Kodama's limitation of converted mana cost less than or equal to. We could try to fill the deck. Well, not fill the deck. We can include in the Selesnya deck some creatures that have maybe a more inflated mana cost for what they do as a way in which to trigger into play off of Kodama some creatures that have smaller converted mana costs considering, or some smaller CMCs based upon what they can do. Like here's an example. Like you have 2 creatures in play. Let's say Sarah Angel comes in as the 3 and 2 white CMC of 5. We get Sarah Angel into play. We exile Sarah Angel with Livio. Bring Sarah Angel back into play. And let me be honest. I mean, Sarah Angel, she's been around since the beginning. 3 double white. She's nothing to turn our nose up at. But she comes down into play, triggering Kodama. Suddenly, we're looking at our hand and maybe we're putting into play a Questing Beast. I think there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential in that Selesnya combination. Boy, I'll tell you, what a green-heavy video this has been for all of the green mages out there. And I know the MTG Burgeoning community is filled with them. Congratulations on this Green Day video. This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things magic.